Ah, Tony Hawk 3, baby! Tony Hawk 3 plus 4. It's finally here. After getting Tony Hawk 1 plus 2, a lot of people were asking for Vicarious Visions and Activision to make a 3 plus 4, and it almost didn't happen. But here we are, and it's here. I will say though, for a while, I was definitely against the idea of doing a 3 plus 4 because 4's goal system is just so much different that it's just a kind of a disservice to lump both of those games together. And what I predicted to happen basically did happen, where 4's levels ended up getting all the same goal system as 3's, and it kind of cheapens the experience a bit, but we're here anyway, and the game still slaps. I think I played it a lot more than I did 1 plus 2 because Tony Hawk 3 was actually the first game I ever owned on PS2. This one has a special place in my heart. And Tony Hawk 4 was the first one that I ever 100%ed. Sort of. Anyway, I've been combing through the game and I want to show you guys some stuff that I've been discovering. Stuff that a lot of the other Easter egg video people aren't really talking about. And I tried to make sure I get this video out as soon as possible so that all the things I find don't get reported by other people before I have a chance to share it. So if I do come across something like that, I'll let you know where I got it from. But for the most part, this whole list is stuff that I found on my own. So let's start with Tony Hawk 3, baby. We're going to start this journey right here at the Foundry, based in Nashville, Tennessee. Off the rip, the very first thing you can notice is the big Rensselaer Hydrant Company sign, which is a clear nod, or rather connection, to Warehouse from Tony Hawk's 1 plus 2. One important fact to keep in mind that even though this game was developed by Iron Galaxy, Tony Hawk 1 plus 2, of which the game's engine is based on, was developed by Vicarious Visions, which was based in Albany, New York, right near Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, which is where co-founder Karthik Bala went to school. In fact, an article published by the school in August 2020 revealed that Vicarious Visions went on to partner with the Games and Simulation Arts and Sciences program at Rensselaer to help support community gaming events and even grant scholarships under the Vicarious Visions Pathfinder Award, which is listed as an annual merit-based scholarship that is presented to one Rensselaer student in recognition of demonstrated excellence in game development. A gap you'll see a lot in Tony Hawk series is TC's Rail, or TC's Gap. TC is short for Team Chicken, which is a reference to Neversoft developer Chris Rauch, whose nickname was Team Chicken. If you were to take a closer look at the foreman's clipboard, you can see that, well, there's actually nothing written on it. Or is there? More on that later. But don't you think it's kind of crazy that they have you dunk the foreman inside a vat of corrosive liquid that we all thought was water? My man is cooked. Along the walls, you'll see different numbered safety signs for different types of injuries, such as 2 days since last drowning, 3 days since last severe burn, 0 days since last injury, and even 60 days since last fatality. There's one unique feature that this level has that none of the other levels do. Every level has at least one of these "Oh, you found me" graphics, and it's even a tracked collectible. But this level is the only one to have 2! And this is the only one that actually counts for the challenge. The one behind the gate does not. Next, we have Canada, set in Calgary. Now I know one of the main changes made to this level has annoyed a lot of people, and that's the disappearance of the guy taking a whiz. But implore me this. Yes, he does make an appearance in the Pro Goals as an NPC named Peter. But I ask you this, has Peter truly learned bladder control?
A view like this gives a guy a powerful thirst.
When the all-majestic Peter is not in position for his Pro Goal, he is seen here, waiting in line to use the porta potty. Wait, hold on. Start the clip. What's that? What's Vecron Energy? Vecron Energy could be a reference to Vecron the Conductive Mind, a boss in the Destiny DLC, The Taken King, the sequel for which Vicarious Visions developed post-launch content for, including Curse of Osiris, Warmind, Season of the Forge, and Season of Opulence. Alternatively, it could be a reference to the Vecron Pacific Reactor, which is the setting to the campaign mission Fission from Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Oh! Wow, will you look at that. Regardless, this is more evidence that Vicarious Visions was well involved in the development of this game before they were absorbed fully into Activision and renamed into Blizzard Albany, while also being removed from the project entirely and handing the reins to Iron Galaxy. What's weird about this area is that normally in the area where you can see the two kids throw the snowballs at the bully, if you actually position yourself near this house, you'll hear slightly different audio.
I could do this all day. Come on, man, leave me alone, eh?
And the way the audio is mixed makes it sound like it's coming from inside this house, not outside.
My brother's gonna kick your butt. You couldn't hit the broadside of a whoa. Oh, wanna play ball? Whoa. Oops, sorry, it slipped. Stop it!
As of the recording of this video, there's still one little glitch that hasn't been patched out yet. Whenever you put the camera in this specific body of water in Canada, you can actually clip outside of the map, allowing you to take the camera in places you're not supposed to, without needing any mods whatsoever. The only issue, and I know it's probably hard to tell in this video, there are a lot of invisible walls though that your camera will keep colliding on, which is already a known issue regularly, but it's double an issue down here. Not quite a free cam, but I still thought it was very interesting that this didn't get patched out after like, what, 3 or 4 updates? What's the deal with this cop car to just be spinning the block all day? And I want to give some credit to YouTuber Voyak for finding this discovery. You seen this snowman over here? I thought it was just a regular snowman, but apparently it actually is a reference to classic mode from Tony Hawk's Underground 2, where you have to smash 5 snowmen. And now we have made it to Rio, set in Brazil, obviously. And one of the first places I want to look at is the movie theater. You'll see these movie posters in a bunch of different levels, and they're all cute and all, but there's one specifically I want to take a closer look at. Here is a movie poster for a film called Prey Skater, Bird in the House. And yes, the pun is obvious, it's a hawk riding a skateboard like Tony Hawk, and you might even notice that the hawk's name is Tony the Hawk. And while it might seem like a little visual gag, did you know that Tony the Hawk is a real bird? In a video uploaded on July 9th on the official Tony Hawk Pro Skater Instagram page, the London Zoo, in honor of Tony Hawk's illustrious skateboarding career and the fact that the in-game level zoo takes heavy inspiration from their zoo, has named one of their new hawks Tony Hawk.
I am truly honored that they've named this young hawk Tony. I think it's cool. I got to meet him. We had a moment. I fed him. I just hope I can get him on a skateboard one day.
There's a lot of graffiti slapped about the level, but this piece in particular stood out to me the most. It's a little hard to read, but this graffiti piece near one of the hubbas reads Surfista de Concreto, which roughly translates to concrete surfer. I think this is a neat little nod to the very early days of skateboarding culture, when before it was called skateboarding, it was known as sidewalk surfing. Not really an Easter egg, but this sign right here, Cidade Maravilhosa, means marvelous city, and that's basically the tagline of Rio de Janeiro. In a sea of fake buildings and signs, you'd be forgiven for not knowing that Banco do Brasil is a real company. And according to the clock on their ATM, it is 1824, which is 6:24 p.m. in-game time. Some of the construction signs seen on the streets of Rio are the same ones from Foundry, but in Portuguese. Now this next secret is a little hard to see without turning your video filter to cell shade, which is exactly what I'm doing here. If you take the camera up to the window, you may notice that the pictures in the wall will look familiar for those who've played Tony Hawk 1+2. And that's because these are pictures of none other than Skate Heaven. The first picture shows off a little foresty area with a UFO right outside of the Animal Chin Ramp secret area. The photo of the left is a picture of the famous San Dieguito High 10-stair rail, which of course is based on a real life, now defunct skate spot. Now this one's just a random spot from Skate Heaven, but this picture over here is another angle of the famous Animal Chin Ramp, a very famous half pipe created specifically for the 1987 skateboard film The Search for Animal Chin, starring Bose Brigade. On the door for the Acropolis National Bank, you can see a sign about it being closed due to current events, and that instantly pinged in my head this has to be a reused asset from Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1+2, and it is, because as you remember, that game came out right in the middle of the pandemic. If you go into the secret spot past this alley where you find the secret deck, you'll see a street sign for a place called Rua dos Troques, which roughly translates to Street of Tricks or Trick Street. Just want to take a moment to admire the attention to detail in the background. But also, there's something else in the background I want you to see. You'll notice how in the background of the map, right underneath the Christ the Redeemer statue, is a ramp. But the real statue doesn't have a ramp at its base. But there is one place where it does have a ramp. In the PS1 version of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, instead of cruise ship being the final level like it is on PS2, we get treated to a new original level titled Downhill, also set in Rio. Now take a quick guess of where the level starts.
Level 1.
That's right, you start the level right in front of the Christ the Redeemer statue, dropping in on the quarter pipe. I'm absolutely amazed by their attention to detail on this little Easter egg, even though a lot of people don't actually like this level just because the format's just a little weird. There's nowhere you can really get a good flow going, and the fact that this game still uses the Pro Skater 2 engine just kind of makes it, you know. But for some reason, they remastered this map for the PS2 version of Tony Hawk's Project 8, and it still sucks. Welcome to Suburbia, set in Jackson, Mississippi. I want to start off this section by pointing out the really obvious one first. The house number is 420. Moving on, if you make it up to the thin man's house on the second floor, and you look through this window, and you take a look at the TV in the background, you can see that it's playing the movie Night of the Living Dead, released in 1968. Keeping with the theme of horror films, most people already know by now that the house that the Thin Man lives in is based directly on Norman Bates' house from the movie Psycho. And in case you're wondering, one of the residents inside the trailer park home is also watching a showing of Night of the Living. What the f*** is that? The guy in the expensive house is watching a number of different videos, including a Volcom video ad, a menu screen for Binge Queue, and a Monster Energy ad bumper. Which, if you have a keen eye for observation, will notice that this is the exact same videos play in the exact same order on the big screen in New York on Tony Hawk 1+2. The ice cream truck jingle is the exact same as the one from the original Tony Hawk 3. And I just want to take a moment to appreciate all the detail they put into this ice cream truck. I mean, all the flavors are some kind of variation of like skate tricks, which I think is pretty cool. The only one that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me is Mixed Berry Drive. Our next destination is Airport, set in Honolulu, Hawaii. This is easily the best downhill level that Neversoft ever created for the series, and the attention to detail they gave on this version is second to none. In the bathrooms, you can see multiple stickers for some kind of event called the Red Bull Terminal Takeover, and it's actually a real skate event held yearly at the old MSY Airport Terminal in New Orleans. Skate crews representing shops from all around the world meet up there and compete to see who can make the best video parts using the airport. The best video is chosen by the skate community through a public vote, and the winning team receives prize money for the organization of their choice. Inside of Pete's Cherry Novelty and Gifts, you can see the alien plushie from Tony Hawk 1+2. According to the departure sign at Terminal C, this level likely takes place on December 24th, 2022. My evidence for this is that the first 5 flights show numbers all the way up to 11:45 p.m. and then there's a break with the sign December 25th, 2022, implying that that flight takes place the following day. As well, the list shows that the last flight took off at 9:25 p.m. and then no flights taken off since then. So that will place our time at least somewhere between 9:25 and midnight on the same day. Out of all the security NPCs in the game, the ones here in the airport are the only ones that can knock you over. Even the ones in Alcatraz can't knock you over. This next one is still a bit of a mystery. If you take the camera to this painted glass on this side of the airport, everything looks kind of normal until you turn a little bit to the left and you see that strange reflection. We don't really know what it is because it's not a 3D object and it only exists on this reflective plane. And it looks like a UFO. Most of the reflections reflect something inside the building, but the only circular object inside of this room doesn't even remotely match the way that this looks. If anybody figures it out, please let me know. And the last thing I want to talk about are the hilarious PA broadcasts. Let's start with the ones that are just funny.
classes A and B. Platinum Plus Prestige royalty members and generally superior passengers.
Or how about this one flight that just won't stop changing gates?
Flight 022 to Chicago has moved from gate 05 to gate 15. Flight 022 to Chicago has moved back to gate 05. Please do not go to gate 15. Passengers on flight 022 to Chicago, please ignore the previous announcement. Boarding for flight 022 will be at gate 15. Flight 022 to Chicago has been canceled. I repeat, flight 022 to Chicago has been canceled.
What about this one?
Flight 222 to Tucson is receiving a tow and a tune-up and is now 2 minutes behind schedule. That's 222 to Tucson for a tow and a tune-up. 2 minutes behind schedule.
How about this SpongeBob reference?
The driver of a white sedan, you left your lights on.
Whoever's the owner of the white sedan, you left your lights on.
Flight 275 to Woodland Hills is departing in 5 minutes from gate 23.
Woodland Hills, California is a reference to Tony Hawk's hometown, as well as the former location of the now defunct Neversoft Entertainment. Now this one I don't really get. Any guesses?
If you are the owner of a purple SUV, license plate PE3F, parked on the tarmac, please move your vehicle immediately.
One thing that's really bothering me is that I made a note on my script about a PA line that says, "Mr. Stryker, please report to the white courtesy phone," which is obviously, a reference to the movie Airplane. But when I went to go record footage for it, I couldn't reproduce it. It's almost as if it got removed in like an update or something, or maybe it just never existed. I don't know. I wrote about it, so I don't know what to say. But anyway. We've reached Skater Island, based on a real-life skate park that was set in Middletown, Rhode Island. It has since been permanently closed after being unable to come back from a roof collapse. However, as of December 2024, it has since been rebuilt as Newport Skate Park after the Friends of Newport Skate Park organization successfully campaigned and completed fundraising for the park's construction. You can actually see evidence of the roof collapse here on the new version of the map. If you head outside to the pirate ship, if you take a closer look, you can see a little skeleton dude chilling out on the sail. However, if you first trigger the skull and bones gap, which was used to open up the outside in the original, and then you backtrace yourself all the way back to the pirate ship and do a lip at this spot, you can see the skeleton dudes come alive. But even further still, if you take to the free cam and get up close, you can actually see that it's not just a regular skeleton anymore, he's the Bones Ripper. In addition to being playable in Tony Hawk 1+2, the Ripper is also the mascot for Pal Peralta Skateboards, which is the first team that Tony Hawk ever rode for. If you look off into the distance, you can actually see the level cruise ship, but more on that later. If you take the camera past the ship down into the water, you can actually see the outside of Bikini Bottom. Yes, the actual level Easter egg is already pretty common, but most people don't realize that you can actually see Bikini Bottom from the top of the surface as well. So I just want to point something out that's a little puzzling to me. On this piece of wood, you can find brand stickers for 4 different skateboard companies. The only problem is not a single one of these skate brands actually exists in the game. And this is the only place in the game where you can find these logos. Of course, all 4 of these brands can be found in Tony Hawk 1+2, which leads me to believe that this is an asset flip. But I combed through all the levels in the game, and at least through my independent research, I couldn't find this exact asset anywhere in the game. And what's even stranger is that one of the brands, Freedom Skateboards, which was founded by Jeff Rowley, doesn't even exist anymore. I don't know. Let me know what y'all think. Taking it under the sea for a bit to show you some of the details about the Bikini Bottom Sega area. One of the things that bothers me about this version of Bikini Bottom is its position of the Krusty Krab so close to SpongeBob's house, and the lack of the Chum Bucket and Sandy's Tree Dome, which can all be seen on the surface. I think another piece of lore that would have even bothered Steven Hillenberg is the fact that on the Krusty Krab box, it is implied that Krabby Patty is made with beef. Beef! And I'm not even sure about why SpongeBob was included in this game, because Activision doesn't even currently hold the video game rights to SpongeBob. THQ Nordic does. But anyway, to end off Skater Island on a positive note, I just thought the positioning of the skeleton was funny. We've reached Los Angeles, California. I'm pretty sure back in the day that this was probably my favorite map in Pro Skater 3, only because of like the weird stuff going on. And it also has one of my favorite Easter eggs in the game too. But before we get into that, let's talk about Easter egg that is hiding in plain sight, right at the very beginning. Every run of Los Angeles puts you right in front of this little squiggly ledge at the beginning. If you decide to manually the ledge instead of grind it like the way it looks, you can unlock a secret gap called, well, Andy's Secret Gap. And anybody even remotely involved in the Tony Hawk Pro Skater community knows that this is a reference to Andy Gentile, also known as Andy THPS, a legendary high score runner for the Tony Hawk series and future tester and even lead designer. And apparently today I learned that he's the drummer and one of the founding members of the band An Endless Sporadic, a band with close ties to Neversoft's work due to Andy's involvement. You can hear their work in various Guitar Hero games as well as Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. In the out of bounds area just below the Red Bull sign, you can see a little movie set filled with green screen, vehicles, and props. I believe the intention is to tie this level to a movie studio, which also takes place in Hollywood, but more on that later. On this version of Los Angeles, Buster Cherry's theater has been renamed to El Rey, and the El Rey Theater is a real place. In fact, to commemorate the release of Tony Hawk 3+4, as well as their own inclusion in the game, the real El Rey Theater, which is also based in Los Angeles, held a THPS Fest on May 8th, 2025, which was an event featuring both performances by music artists and appearances from pro skaters who were featured in the game. The event is also where both Bam Margera and Andy Anderson were announced as secret skaters in the game. Apparently you can get free Wi-Fi in LA using the Tony Hawk network. And I want to give credit to YouTuber Voyak again for this discovery. If you look at this level's version of the Hollywood Walk of Fame, you'll notice there are 29 stars. And that's because there are 29 pro skaters in this game. And now it's time to show you one of my favorite Tony Hawk Pro Skater Easter eggs ever. Here in LA, just like in the original version, you find these two guys just yapping to each other, and they just can't seem to agree on anything. I'm about to play the whole rant in its entirety, but I might interrupt to explain a joke that might go over your heads, so enjoy.
How about that smog? How about that smoke? Did you see that new episode with Thing in that park? I didn't know you could show that. They only aired it once. Yeah, I hope they got paid a lot. Grapes, raisins, THPS 1+2, THPS 3+4. Dude, I am so right. Let's try it again. Vape, smoke, pop, soda, subs, die, kick. The lexicalist hypothesis? Distributed morphology. What's it gonna take to get through your thick head? Oxford comma. Dartmouth apostrophe. Tupac. Biggie. Boxers. Briefs. Big Bang. Big Crunch. Hold up. 5 card. Let's go through this one more time. Pixel. Vector. Free will. Determinism. Bach. Chopin. Blue. Gold. Vampires. Werewolves. All right, let's try this again. Half empty, half full. Gap, Jip, Pacino, De Niro. Baker's dozen. 13. Performance. Resolution. Okay, here we go. From the top. Punchline, choke slam, joust, Hogra, UFO, UAP, pineapple. Ugh, no pineapple. Set, setting. Once more from the beginning. None pizza. Left B. Sauce. Gravy. Korean barbecue. Texas barbecue. Steak bowls. Keto. Paleo. Tea. Coffee. Time. Space.
And to finish off LA, let's talk about one of the new additions to the map, the Oceanwide Plaza. The real Oceanwide Plaza, known by locals as the Graffiti Towers, was intended to be a housing and retail development situated across the street from the Crypto.com arena. To make a long story short, basically the property owners ran out of funding before it was completed and has since halted construction. A couple of local graffiti artists took the opportunity to turn the towers into their new canvas, and then many other artists followed suit and bombed the towers with lots of graffiti art, which has upset many of the locals and the city's government officials. They attempted once to have the graffiti removed and bill it to Oceanwide's Chinese-based property owners, Oceanwide Holdings, but the city ultimately decided that it wasn't their job to clean up private property and incur the costs. As of October 2025, the Graffiti Towers remain in its current state as a landmark of LA's graffiti culture. Next, we've reached Tokyo, Japan. Now, I will say, I do like what they've done with the secret area this time around, being like a more traditional location rather than the super futuristic sci-fi setting of the main map. But other than that, there's really not many secrets to go around. I think part of the reason is that now that Tony Hawk, the franchise, has gone more international, there really isn't a lot of places to hide jokes because the international audience is going to pick it up really fast. Especially if you got people like Yuto Horigame and Aori Nishimura on the team. There's no way to put some kind of stupid joke and risk, being disrespectful. But I did manage to find this sign right here that stood out to me. According to Google, this translates to Birdman. And I also think it's weird that their movie theater has all their menu options listed in English. But that's because the menu signs here are an asset flip from Tony Hawk 1+2. Again. And of course, we can't talk about Tokyo without bringing up the Doomslayer hologram. To round off Tony Hawk 3, we've arrived at the cruise ship, set in the Caribbean Sea. I used to hate this level when I was a kid, but in filming B-roll footage for this video, I found some good lines on the cruise ship, and it's got a lot of verticality, so I like it more now. So if you didn't know, any ships or vessels at sea that need to communicate with each other use a system called the International Maritime Signal Flags, and the flags usually either stand for letters, or individual flags can have meanings of their own. In this case, these flags are used as letters. And if you decode all the flags, you'll get the words Iron Galaxy and Tony Hawk. If you hit the Red Bull can to the air, you can get one of 3 secret gaps, including caffeine, pyridoxine, and taurine. But the real question is, which one of those 3 ingredients is the one that gives you wings? In the same area, you can find a sign listing the ship's COVID-19 prevention measures, which makes sense because cruise ships are one of the last categories to end their COVID-19 prevention measures. I know the angle that I filmed this at is a little bad, but just bear with me. Off in the distance, you can see a cargo ship with the word "Oh shit" written on the front, which is a very clear reference to Shipyard for Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4, but more on that later. This TV here on cruise ship is rotating through the same series of videos as the screen seen here in New York. Wait, philanthropical? Ain't this the drug from Tony Hawk 1+2 that the news reports as having been linked to anal disorders? As of October 2025, just like in Canada, you can clip through this little body of water and you can take the camera under the ship to explore all the shops from the inside. But also, just like Canada, there's a lot of invisible walls down here, so tread carefully. If you take a look at the shoe boxes in this store, despite its brandings, they all seem to carry generic Adidas size tags. This is supposed to be a Nixon retailer, but one of these watches is not like the others. This yellow watch right here is not even a Nixon, it's actually a Swatch watch. But it's not just any Swatch watch, it's actually Andy Anderson's pro model Swatch watch called Time with Andy Anderson. He's actually a pro rider for their team, and this watch's inclusion in the game was a specific collab with Tony Hawk 3+4. Even though this is never mentioned in game, and there is absolutely no Swatch branding in any level besides this model. But regardless, the Swatch website mentions that Andy's in-game model is wearing both a Once Again and Time watch. On the same website, Swatch also explains that the reason is yellow and has a fire hydrant on it is that apparently Andy collects pictures of fire hydrants. Who knew? Actually, I stand corrected, because Andy has a Swatch sticker on the bottom of his board. And in case you were wondering, the graphic on the bow of the ship is a squid riding a skateboard. The big Pro Skater medallion is pretty neat because it has both a picture of Tony Hawk and his son Riley Hawk, who's also in the game. And I'd like to close out this section talking about the Captain Jennings Easter egg. If you were able to break all the glass in the greenhouse, this will happen.
From the fiery depths I have returned, the true Captain Jennings. That imposter will not be bothering us anymore. Yes, for your diligence, I offer this bit of advice. Don't jump in the water. It's wet. Thank you.